doing two Valentine's Day songs for you today. This first one, I'm dedicating this to my wife, Mira, who I believe is the best alto the Unity Choir has ever had. The other Valentine's Day song, which will be at the end of the service, is going to be from my mom. And unfortunately, she thinks that her song is going to be first. So anyway, but yeah, let's get started. A D minor, if you please, Mr. Bethune. 1, 2, 1, 2. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true. And then while I'm away, I'll write home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. I'll pretend that I'm kissing the lips I am missing, and hope that my dreams will come true. And then while I'm away, I'll write home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. All my loving I will send to you. All my loving, darling, I'll be true. Mr. Todd Bethune. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true. And then while I'm away, I'll write home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. All my loving I will send to you. All my loving, darling, I'll be true. All my loving, oh, all my loving, oh, all my loving, I will send to you.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. This is the day where we acknowledge that love is possibly the most important thing that we can experience in our lives. And the best way to experience love is to give it out in some way to others. So today, as you go about whatever you're doing, remember to be friendly, giving love, thanking people, telling people how much you appreciate them. So make that part of your day, and you're going to feel the love coming back to you in every possible way. That's the way it works today. And that's for all of you, too, watching this on a screen. You know, wherever you go today, it might be just with your spouse. Or maybe you need to pick up the phone and call your mom or your dad, if your mom and dad are still among us, and let them know how much you appreciate the fact that they have given you life, the opportunity to live and learn and grow in the joy of being. That's what it's about. So give out love today. We have a great talk coming, a great talk. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to see a bunch of people here showed up even despite how cold it is outside. Welcome to everyone who's here in person. Welcome to everyone who's online. I do have an announcement. This week I was on the phone with Boulder County to find out, now that we've gone down to yellow, what that actually means for us here in person. And what I did find out very definitively is we are allowed to be open. We actually are now allowed to have even more people than we were 2 weeks ago here in person in the sanctuary, but there is still one thing. We are still required to ask you to fully wear your masks, even once you're seated. I know that there's different rules with restaurants, say once you're seated, and then we don't make the rules, we're just trying to follow them. We know it's not the funnest news in the world, but we do have to ask you, please wear your masks through the whole service. Next, if any of you here are like me, you probably have some last minute Valentine's Day shopping to do, or maybe a last item to grab for someone. Our bookstore and gift shop has plenty of great items to give as Valentine's Day gifts, and we do have Valentine's Day cards in there as well. So if you're looking for that last minute thing, stop in there after the service. All right, thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. This song is called There's Only Love. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am. there is only love. Thank you.
Very nice. It's a nice way to start. Oh, Mike, I forgot my crystal. I need my crystal. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you lovebirds out there and all the people that are joining us on live stream. Valentine's Day is one of those tricky ones. It can be a really great day if you have that perfect counterpart, or it can be a day that reminds us that we're still not dating somebody, right? It's one of those. So I think if you don't have somebody, you should go get yourself a little something. You know, get yourself something, and that self-love is so important. And Valentine's Day doesn't have to be about the significant other, but knowing that God would want to give you a gift. So go get yourself something that's special. So today my talk title is A Return to Innocence. My last sermon was about regaining happiness. So I'm just on this journey, thank you, on this journey of pulling out of the depths of grief that I was going through for the last few months from the loss of one of my best girlfriends. And so I'm trying to write sermons of what I'm doing to finally get myself back in life, back in a joyful place in life, and speak to how we do that. How do we regain our innocence from experiences that possibly traumatized us in the past, or all through our life, things cut us at our core, and we have to learn how to regain that awe towards life again. Even though we now know life is dangerous and we know things can happen and people can be taken from us that mean everything to us. But I wanted to read this from the book that my women's group is studying right now. It's called In the Wild Edge of Sorrow, and this is from page 32 and 33. He writes, I remember once when my son was 2 years old, I was in the kitchen making him breakfast. He came running into the kitchen and joyously shouted, Daddy, Daddy. I turned to him abruptly and shouted, Stop it. He looked stunned and ran to his bedroom. I knew that my response had shamed him. I put the eggs down and went to his room, knelt down on the floor and looked him in the eyes and said, You wanted something from me and I didn't give it to you. What is it that you want to say to me? He said, It felt like you didn't want to be my daddy anymore. My heart sank and I said, No, we're good. That was all mine. I'm so sorry. I got angry at you like that. We are good and I love you. He brightened and smiled, hugged me and went off to play. The bridge between us had been restored. As I walked out of his bedroom, I wondered what would have happened if I hadn't gone in there. I remembered Kaufman saying that it is always up to the adult to restore the bridge with the child. In that moment, I understood powerfully the cost to a child who had to be the one to make the overture of repair. If I hadn't gone in there, my son would have had to ingest his fear that I did not want to be his father any longer. The worst part of it, however, is that he would have felt it was his fault. If he hadn't been so exuberant, so needy for my attention, I might still hold him in my heart. He would feel he had to restrain these parts of himself in the future if he was to receive my love once again. This really stood out. We talked about this in the women's group on last Thursday night. We talked about a few of the things, and we're talking about the shame that comes from wounding from our childhood and how that plays out in the long term of our ability to really have joy in life. And I'm a mom. I have a teenager. I have two teenagers and a 24-year-old daughter, but I've got two teenagers. That's the focus at the moment. And they can be super annoying right now. I mean, they're hard, and they're in your space, and there's nothing for them to do. We're in COVID. They're always wanting me to be the best friend all day long because they have no outlet to get socialized, which at 13 and 15, nobody wants to hang out with their parents at that age. But they do because, well, first of all, I'm a lot of fun. But second of all, there's nothing to do. They're bored out of their minds, and they need that human interaction. And there's many times that they come that I'm sitting to trying to write a sermon or prepare for a class, or I have a counseling session in an hour with somebody, that they're just up in my space, and I feel that growl coming on me, where I have to choose to be superwoman at this time, because we know that those cuts, they have a lasting effect that could change them into being happy, powerful, independent young people, or people that self-criticize, put themselves down, and don't feel that they're worthy, right? So it's a lot of pressure with all that we've all been going through with COVID, and wanting to keep our kids innocent, right? You probably will remember some of the stories, and others you might have forgotten because it seems so inconsequential at the moment. However, our innocence is not lost by the things that happen to us. In fact, we can experience many dark times, go through incredibly different experiences, and still come out on the other end with an innocent heart. This is because innocence is not about being naive. It's about closing your heart and your mind to the rest of the world. It's by closing your heart and your mind to the rest of the world. Innocence, according to all accepted definitions, is freedom from guilt and shame. And even though that's an appropriate and practical definition of the word, it's not everything innocence is. Things happen to us that make us lose our openness to people, to life, and to desire. Our ability to enjoy the present and truly live it gets compromised. We stop laughing and playing carelessly, and enjoying things becomes a more conscious effort than it was when we were younger and things hadn't happened to us. So how do we regain our innocence? How do we do that? That's what I've been really focusing on. So if innocence is quick to laughter, quick to joy, quick to trusting our friends and family members and people around us, it's really being in a state of wholeness and feeling good inside and out. Being an adult doesn't mean that we should lose all our innocence. If you want to regain your innocence and experience what it's like to open up your heart again, you need to learn how to enjoy things again. Allowing your heart to regain its innocence means you need to know what it's like to feel awe and wonder again. How many of you that drove here today, which I do thank you because it is really cold outside today, and I came here at 6:30 this morning from Lyons. It was freezing. But how many of you were awe-inspired by that glistening snow on the Flatirons? Who noticed how beautiful it was outside visually on your way in? Because it's really living in that state where the glass is half full and not half empty, that we recognize the majesty in every moment, right? When we stay in a place of gratitude for all the beauty that God has given us, it takes our energy away from the things that make us feel less than, or the cuts that keep us living in the past, right? So I had a dream the other night, and it's the second dream I've had of my friend Maya coming to me. And it's the things of spirit that keep my innocence. It's the things of spirit that show up, the signs and symbols that are so palpable that something greater is in command of my life. That something from this love-backed energy is divinely guiding my life. And before my friend passed away, I said, please come find me and show me where you go. I need to know that you're okay. And she gave me a dream last week, but this last Thursday, after our women's group, so I had the women's group, we were discussing shame and all these different things because it's a kind of a grief group. This one is because the book is on grief. But that night, I opened up our circle by calling in our spirit guides and our ancestors, our family members that had passed away. and just Spirit to move in and through us, to give us answers to whatever questions we were bringing to the circle that night. And the group was holy, right? I mean, I can see, I have a few of you in here. It was super, it was like something lifted us. And we went to places I've actually never had any of my women's group ever go to. And I've done them for years. It was holy. It was palpable. Spirit was palpable in our group that night. And there was so much tears and honesty and authenticity and nakedness and truth, and it was just gorgeous. And I left feeling so high, so connected. And when I left, I was driving to Lyons, and it was snowing. You know, all these nights it's been doing that really light, beautiful snow. And I'd never seen the road like that before, with the snow like this. So it was glistening, and it was kind of creating almost a fog look. So when the cars from peaks ahead were coming up, it was lighting up lights into the snow. And they looked like angels, just kept appearing as I was driving home, angels. And I'm getting shivers thinking about it because it was so spectacular. I've never seen it before in my life or after. I mean, I've seen light up snow, but not into the shape and how high it was going. It was just unbelievable. And I came home to Mike. I said, you would not believe the drive I just had home, on my way home. And I went to bed that night. And my friend Maya came to me in my dream. And there's a first part that I'm going to leave out just because I'm still analyzing it, trying to figure out what that part meant. But at some point in the dream, we're in a small little plane together that her father is the pilot of, which her father's not a pilot. And he's also been in both dreams, which he's still here on the planet. And we were flying to go see the house that she was moving to in the dream. And we were flying in this rickety, wonky, terrifying plane. And I don't like planes anyways, but this was a terrifying part of the dream where it's diving down and it's crazy, and we're just barely making it over the tips of these massive peaks of mountains, and we're flying, and I'm thinking, how are we going to get over the top of that one? And it was just pure stress. It was pure fear, actually, being in this plane. And then before I know it, the thing lands on a landing strip that's the size of a driveway. So it basically goes from craziness to stopping. And there's this big, huge house on the tip of a mountain top. And I'm sitting there and I'm analyzing in the dream, how in the heck am I going to get back in this plane and take off into just the abyss? I'm considering how this, no. Okay. All right. So we're landed. I'm sitting in the airplane completely stuck in frozen fear that I have to get back in this plane to go take off. I'm losing the whole point that I'm with Maya, right? And then Maya jumps out the door and she goes, come with me. I want to show you my favorite part. And she grabbed my hand and she just started running. And we were running along this incredible mountaintop that was, for the eye could see, was just clouds everywhere. We were above the clouds, and we ended up at this opening. And we were standing there, and she was holding my hand. And the sound of harmonics, there's like a singing sound while we were looking out on the clouds. And I just took in the feeling of her hand. It was, my girlfriend and I have been friends since we were 5 years old, and she played the guitar our whole lives. We both sang together
in our teenage years and in our 20s. And I watched her play that guitar all my life, and I could feel every wrinkle, everything that hand represented to me. And I was in a state of overwhelming love, of okayness, of holiness. And I was with her. We were joined. And luckily, I woke up without having to get back in the plane and find my way back home. But when I woke up, I had that overwhelming feeling of the feels, right? It's all of the emotions of, well, first of all, it depends on how much your faith is in life after death or life eternal, or whatever we learn as we've done our spiritual path and we've meditated, and eventually you do start to see signs and symbols that this is just a cloak and that she's put this to the side. But clearly our bond is stronger than the physical. And when I woke up, I just closed my eyes and I said, "Thank you, Maya." And my ear went ding. That's one of my signs and symbols that Spirit is speaking to me. Or a grandmother is who I'm thinking about at the time. They'll do a little singing sound. Does anybody ever have that happen in your ear and you're going, "Oh, it's just my brain, it just does that"? But when we change our focus, when we grow the spiritual eyes, if you've ever noticed like old gurus, like Thich Nhat Hanh and things like that, when you look at their faces and they're 90 years old, there's that little squinty childlike look. Because in the Bible, it says you have to become like little children again if you want to know the kingdom of heaven, right? And we're not ever seeking this separate kingdom of heaven when we're, doing our unity path work here, because we're creating heaven here. And when we realize that nothing can be lost or stolen or taken away, even in death, that we keep a dialogue and a relationship with these wonderful people, and you look through a lens that you know that this is the truth. How many people believe that I visited with Maya in that dream? You don't believe it? I'm just teasing you. I adore her. I just love your honesty. You're sitting right here in the front. She's like, "I don't know. Pretty much don't know if I buy that." And you won't know until you have the experience. And then once you have the experience, you can't unsee that view is changed forever. And that was opened up for me when I lost my son, Luca, 16 years ago. That is when I was shown the signs and symbols of how Spirit would communicate with me about my son and from him. So I thanked her, and I was in a state of awe-inspiring energy. I went through that day. I don't think my feet touched the ground. I felt like I was floating all day, because Maya was my access to the ethereal realm in that dream, and she did not leave me when I woke up and grabbed my suit and walked into life. I was flying, because that veil was so thin all day. I could just feel. I was in think and have. When you are quickening your spiritual work and you're meditating and you're doing what it takes to really pray up your being so that you create a powerful, magnificent, abundant, and happy life. I have a life that's like that. I do have a wonderful life, but the grief has taken a big toll on me with Maya going. But that day, when she ran holding my hand to go to that cliff to look off with me, she didn't let go. And she stayed with me all day. And I even got a sense when I thanked her that morning that she appreciated that I got it, that it wasn't a dream, and that it was her. I could feel that validation in my soul of her being so grateful that I know I was with her. There was no questioning. I was with her, and so she could bask in the fact that she's learning how to communicate, and maybe her child will be able to hear her, and her family members who are suffering and so sad right now. Because when you are in deep grief, it's really hard to tune into the souls that have passed on. And so usually family members don't have those experiences for about a year because the grief has to be calmed down to be able to open up to that psychic, ethereal field. So these moments are labeled as awesome, which has become quite a tired word recently. We label almost everything as awesome, but it used to be used only to point out things that were truly grand and that caused awe. It's important to understand that awe is something we can feel when it comes to negative things, as both good and bad things have the power to take our breath away. The constant 24-hour news cycles and endless bombardment of bad news have led many to suffer from information overload and a sense of hopelessness in the world in which we live. In the Course in Miracles, it says, "The power of decision is your one remaining freedom as a prisoner of this world. You can decide to see it right. What you made of it is not its reality, for its reality is only what you give it. You cannot really give anything but love to anyone or anything, nor can you really receive anything but love from them. If you think you have received anything else, it is because you have looked within and thought you saw the power to give something else within yourself. It was only this decision that determines what you found, for it was the decision for what you sought." So it's what we're giving meaning to. How do you want to see your life? Don't you want to be surprised by life again? This Groundhog's Day we've been living in since last March, it's getting old. It's getting really old. And it's getting old on our children. It's getting old on our parents. The loneliness and the lack of hugging, all of it, right? So getting awe-inspired has not left us as far as the spiritual experience. Nothing changed by COVID or all the things that have happened in the last year as far as our relationship with this greater something, this greater love we call God, Spirit, Source. Whatever word makes you feel a part of this greater development, your highest self, your highest consciousness, the part of you that is psychic and you know who's going to call you before they call you, the part of you that's getting little flashes that you're going to hit a red light in a minute and you turn before you did. You're just on, you're in. You are in control with your spiritual connection. And it never gets old when you live in this awe-inspiring feeling of these unseen realms are honorable. These unseen realms are here to support me and guide me to that which is being called for me right now. These unseen realms, I haven't even barely scratched the surface of listening and thinking and wondering, asking questions before I go to bed and saying, Spirit, I want to feel you tonight. I want to know what I'm supposed to do tomorrow as far as my career, or as far as my marriage, as far as my children. And then wake up and you had a dream. And you could go, oh, that was just my subconscious because I put that intention out there and I said it, and so therefore you just want to do the intellect. And when you want to live in the intellect, that there is no magic in this universe, then you'll only see it through the intellectual mind. Because the spiritual body, the spiritual energy is something that you can't intellectualize. It's urges, it's hunches. And there are different signs and symbols for each one of us, because we all have spirit guides, and they're going to show us in a different way. The time 11:11 is something that I see twice a day. I never miss it, and I know that I see it because that is a validation that the universe is talking to me. Allowing yourself to experience awe and wonder again will make you more caring, empathetic, generous, and more connected to the world around you, which is key to becoming open again. This feeling allows you to love more, or at least to be open to the possibility of love. Awe makes us innocent again. So if you want to regain your innocence, you must look for ways to experience this feeling as much as you can. There are many different ways to do this. One of them is to get in touch with nature. Nature is full of wonder and truly awesome, amazing sights. It has the power to replenish us. I say this in every single sermon. I bring up nature, and I also bring up dogs. And I know for those of you that have cats, those are also really helpful, but I'm a dog person. Don't you want people to see you the way your dog sees you? I love that statement. But cats are just as adorable. I love cats, but I'm just allergic to them, so when you don't feel good around something, you just don't feel as close to it. And your cats. Don't you want people to love you the way your cat does? Or your children do, right? There's so much wonder in these little creatures that somehow bless our lives for 12 to hopefully 20 years. That we have a whole dialogue with them, but yet they never talked the entire time we had them. Does that ever blow your mind? Those of you that have animals? Because I realize I'm talking to Gilly all day long, because he's always with me. He's in my office, he's in my car, he's at my house. And every once in a while it hits me, wait, he's never talking back to me. But he is. Because there's so much more communication beyond words. I know when my dog doesn't feel good. I know when my dog is hungry. And I don't even have to see him. He sends me notes, right? Do your animals tell you, I'm hungry and you're in another part of the house? I'm bored. I'm ready to go to the field. And I got to go take Gilly out. We are the same way. We don't actually need to use so much words. If we would be quiet more and connected more with our hearts, you'd watch a lot more things resolve in the silence. You would have more peace restored and your innocence regained. So, last October, a couple girlfriends took me out for dinner for my birthday. And it was the first time I had been out since we'd all been in lockdown for so long. And we were like little kids, you know, because going to a restaurant seemed so special, so something we hadn't done in so long. You know, we had a reason to get dressed up and feel like a human being and take a break from all of our children, you know, and have a girls' night out. And we went to Sushi Zanmai, and it was pretty empty, and we were just raucous and crazy and funny and having the best time. I was there with Michelle, who's actually the head of our Sunday school, and Carissa, who also teaches in Uniteens. And at one point, we're, you know, laughing and yucking it up and everything else. And you know how you're all paranoid about COVID, though, because it's our first time out. So you're just kind of like paranoid about how to pass food to each other. And, you know, it's just all this, like, mental disorder that has arrived from this COVID experience. And at one point, Carissa goes to get a piece of sushi. And she grabs it, and I just noticed right when she's about to take a bite that somehow she had lost track of one of her chopsticks and was holding the filthy pencil that we had done our order with. And she's going to put it in her mouth. And I just started laughing. I haven't laughed that hard in so long. And the three of us laughed it was the mundane of this COVID thing and watching her now eat something with this filthy pencil that probably everybody had used that night. And we had the laugh of our life. And there she is. Right after she did it, she has the pencil in her hand because Michelle somehow caught the whole thing on tape. And I look at these pictures when I feel this sense of being down, feeling like I'm missing my friend, and realizing how many friends I have that still are here, that I adore, and they bring joy. And that moment was like 3 16-year-olds, you know, just out to play. The parents don't know where we are. You know, that fun, vibrant excitement towards something that we had all taken for granted. Something that we did all the time, so it lost its specialness. So, what if this COVID experience was to sharpen our appreciation for everything? Music, family, celebrations, friendships, nature. And it put everything into perspective, how every moment is a holy moment. To take nothing for granted. When you don't take anything for granted, you literally show up from God consciousness because you're showing up from gratitude. Do I have Maya's family members in here? I can't. Good to see you. That's you, Jake, right? Is it Joey? Oh my God, your mask is up so high. Well, nice to have you guys. Welcome. So, I wanted to talk about innocence and the funny things that I do to keep myself focused on it. But I came across this video when I was writing this sermon, and I think it pretty much just, it handles it all it just covers it. I don't even have to preempt what this video is about. It's just about the childlike wonder of life. And you need to skip the slide that I have because the video is just past that. Is it not working?
Whose idea was this? Did you think this was a good idea? Look at brother's face. Who got the paint out? Brother did? How'd he get it?
He built with stairs, did he?
He what?
He built with stairs.
He built the stairs?
Yes, did he?
With what?
With blocks.
With blocks?
Yes, he built the stairs, did he?
How come you didn't tell him no? Who's the big brother? You are. How come you didn't tell him no? That wasn't a good idea. Huh? Are you guys in trouble?
Yes, Daddy. Yes, Daddy.
What should we do?
I don't know. I don't know.
You guys got paint everywhere downstairs.
Yep.
Do you think you guys should have timeouts? You don't think so? Do you think I should not give you guys any more juice?
What is funny?
Nothing's funny, bud. You guys have paint everywhere.
In the hair, Daddy?
Yeah, in your hair.
My face?
Yeah, you have it all over your face.
Yeah. My teeth?
How do you think we're gonna get this paint off?
My hair now? What is funny? What is funny?
That's the beauty of having little kids, because we get to be little kids again. And you know, those moments where they do get into trouble like that, and you could either choose to be upset, because when he said the downstairs is covered in paint, those kids probably ruined their carpets. And I mean, to be covered that much paint, there was a living room lost, okay? And you hear a little later in that video that the mom is downstairs with a crying baby. So there's another child in this house, and she's probably cleaning that up with a baby that's screaming. And here's the dad that's just, I gotta take this in, which is so awesome, because how often did we have stuff like this happen with our kids, but we didn't get the video camera out, right? It was just like, oh, we gotta clean this up, we gotta make everything right, when it's like, that dad basked in those little outlined eyeballs of his kids, because the paint job was incredible that they did on each other, right? It's incredible. I've watched it so many times. You can just type in, if you want to share that. It's in YouTube. It just says 2 little boys caught with paint on their faces. So, and discover the power within you. Oh, I'm just showing innocent everything everywhere. Here we go. All right, I know we're battling up here. Steve, will you? I don't know if I'm going. Okay, thank you. Discover the power within you. On page 70, it says, call yourself a child of God and believe it, and you become a true peacemaker. It is not a thing you have to do in the world around you. In the most dramatic way, the world around you will be changed in the twinkling of an eye as you change. An electric light doesn't have to go out into the room and try to sweep away the darkness. When the light is turned on, the light radiates and the darkness disappears. So let us work to build this into our consciousness so that we may take our place in the world as bringers of the light rather than as purveyors of darkness. I am a child of God. And I'm going to start acting like one. What does a child of God act like? I think innocence has a lot of mischievousness in it. There's playfulness. It's all of the, you know, I love pranks, right? In my house, pranking each other is really big. Because I have teenagers now, so, you know, they don't get scared as easily, but they jump out of rooms when I'm down in the dark basement laundry room and scare me to the point where I drop, and it's just fun. You know, making each other laugh and becoming like little kids again. It makes life fun. I'm a radiating center of peace and love, and I am a child of God. In Matthew 18:3, it says, and he said, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And I'm going to invite my mom to come out, and we're going to just do a little singing meditation with you. Hi, welcome. You look like you're shocked by this. Where's the music?
Right under here.
There it is. Okay, so let's just close our eyes. I'm going to sing this affirmation, and eventually you'll get what the affirmation is, and you can sing it with us. Love, which created me, is what I am. Love, which created And so it is. Thank you.
Once again, we have received so beautifully that inspiration, that insight to lead us further on our path toward living in love and living joy and sharing that wherever we go. And that's what our lives are about. That's what our calling is. You see, we somehow or other have lost the idea that we've been made in the image and likeness of God. And now we're getting it back because God is love. And that's what we can freely give and freely receive every single day of our lives. Such a beautiful message. So at this time, let us now take an offering for Unity of Boulder. And as we do this, we have plenty of ways to tithe to Unity of Boulder. Because of our COVID restrictions, we have to just do this in a different way. We have, baskets in the lobby for those of you that want to make a physical donation. And we have also dip jars in the lobby for your credit card. But bring to mind whatever gift you want to make financially to Unity, and let's bless it with this offering affirmation. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
One last thing, we just wanted to reach out to everyone who's watching online, or to those of you who are here in person. Any way that you're watching us online, there is a button where you can hit share, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or even on our website. We're just inviting everyone to, if you think today's message or any other one of our past messages that you can easily access on all those places, if any of those moved you or you think there might be someone else you'd like to share those messages with, please go ahead and hit share. Thank you.
All right. Are you singing again?
Yes, I am.
I didn't know you were launching a singing career, Larry. All right, well, you should. You sound really good. Come on up here.
Never too young to start a new career.
Okay.
Or too old, I should say. Just, there we go. All right. So, this is the first time that I've stood here in this stage in front of a microphone to sing to you people. Because normally I'm over there at that piano or the synthesizer. So, the first Sunday ever, I'm not playing the synthesizer or the piano. And I neglected earlier to introduce myself to you. My name's Larry, and this song was originally done by Glenn Miller and his orchestra in 1942. My mother, who is watching in Texas online right now, told me that when she was 14, this was her favorite song. She'll be 93 next month. So, all right, D major 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I hear that serenade in blue, I'm somewhere in another world, alone with you, sharing all the joys we used to know. Many moons ago. Once again your face comes back to me, just like the theme from some forgotten melody in the album of my memories. Serenade in blue. It seems like only yesterday, a small cafe, a crowded floor, and as we dance the night away, I hear you say forevermore. But then the song became a sigh, forevermore became goodbye, but you remained in my heart. So tell me, darling, is there still a spark? Or only lonely ashes of the flame we knew? Should I go on whistling in the dark, serenading blue?
I couldn't help thinking what a great rap song that would make. Where's the rest of our crew? It's our closing benediction.
There's Norma.
There's Norma with Syntysche. All right. Let's sing it down.
I don't know that my microphone.
You don't need one. There's one right here.
All right, let's all rise and close their closing benediction.
Come on in here, Nicole.
I release and I let go.